right. Welcome to episode 57. I hope you guys are doing great. Today, we are getting back into the regular routine. I am Patrick, and I have with me tonight, clockwise on my screen, Woody Meacham. How are you, sir?
Hey, good, Patrick. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. Mike Drew, hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me again.
You know it. You guys are always welcome. Hector Contreras, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you, Patrick.
You're welcome.
How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Thanks. And finally, Nick Bamback, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Patrick, for asking.
All of you guys are welcome. All right. So, okay, I'm going to try and get back into the, regular stuff. I've been away 2 months. So we have a lot of TV and movies to talk about. But first, I got to start with a few extra questions. I have 2 questions for you guys tonight. First question is, was there a season of a TV show that you normally loved that really, really pissed you off? So if you're looking for rants, here's your chance. Got to start with Woody. What do you have for us?
I like you had a nice little rhyme there. Chance to rant. I like that. Could be a title of this thing.
Not on purpose, but good idea.
There you go. So I'm going to start out with, it's a rather new one, but Game of Thrones.
Good shout.
I loved Game of Thrones, and they were building everything up. It was so good. They were starting to bring all the storylines back together, and then the final episode made me so angry that I had thought about, I should go back and rewatch it. I'm like, nope, you're just going to get angry again. And so it totally ruined, not totally, but for the most part, ruined the entire show for me. The way that they paid it off. Yeah, I like the blind kid becoming the ruler. I'm like, come on. So anyway, I don't
jump the shark multiple times there at the end.
Exactly. So I'll leave it at that because we can move on because I know we don't have a lot of time today. But that was the one I came up with.
Well, I just want to add on to that because that was one of mine, not the one I was going to pick up, but just one in the back of my head because there was an episode in an earlier season where, I won't spoil it, but a character gets burned alive. It was so uncomfortable to watch that I looked at Angie and said, I can't do this. And I'm out. And then I ended up coming right back anyway and finishing it off, which probably a mistake in hindsight, but and then it's pretty gratuitous. Like it lasted a long time and you're just like, why? This is so bad.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I know exactly who you're talking about. And it similarly irked me as well.
Yeah. And so Woody, did it stop you from watching House of the Dragon?
No, because I'm an idiot. So, and again,
Monday confessions.
Yeah, and I really liked. I don't want to say I really liked House of the Dragon. I liked House of the Dragon.
Same.
The Matt Smith character is so ambiguous in it that I don't know that I like it or not because I don't like people that are evil for no reason other than that they're evil.
You gotta give it to those, lumpy inbred albinos.
That was my band in college.
Called back to an earlier show. Okay, so good shout. Thank you, Woody. Mike, what do you have in mind?
I struggled with this. The one show that kind of came to me was there used to be a British comedy called Coupling. Anybody knows of it?
Yep.
Yeah, and Coupling was kind of like the crude British cousin of Friends. It was 4 seasons. And in the 3rd seasons, it was always 3 guys and 3 girls, and one of them was a couple, and then the other one's kind of, intermingled like they do in sitcoms. And one of the really funny characters in the first 3 seasons was a guy named Jeff. The character's name was Jeff. And he disappears for the 4th season, whatever the problem was, who knows. And they brought in another actor to play a character named Oliver. And Oliver looked just like Jeff. Kind of was stupid and goofy like Jeff, but wasn't Jeff, and just didn't work. And I would say that was probably the most annoying. And I'm sure as soon as we're done tonight, I'll think of something that'll wake me up at 4 a.m. and go, why didn't I say that? But
it's like Cousin Oliver.
That 4th season of Coupling was a real letdown. And especially after the first 3 were, at the time, I'm not saying, because that's almost 20 years ago now. At the time, I thought they were really good. And that 4th season was always
So it was basically the same character, different name, different actor.
Yeah. And I mean, like even some of the mannerisms, I don't know if they were like, okay, can you be him, but not be him? And he's like, I don't know what that means, but I'll try. It was almost like that, or and it didn't work. I mean, because he didn't have the charm and the, like I've said in the past many times, I have to like a character, and because this character just seemed to be trying too hard, I couldn't get into it.
Is it well-known actor?
No, actually, it's funny because I just looked it up on IMDb, and the person who played that character doesn't even have a headshot. So
Never a good sign.
yeah, no, it's probably got typecast as like, oh, you're the guy who fills in for someone else. I could be wrong. Listen, buddy, you could be the greatest guy ever, and I apologize.
He was executed after the set.
Yeah.
Your ratings? Not so good. Get in the incinerator.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever watch the horrible American remake of that show? They did it for,
I think
I did,
tried.
yeah.
I don't even know if it made it a whole season.
Because
Yeah,
Sabrina Sofer was in it, if I'm remembering right.
Yeah.
She was like one of the female leads.
it's pretty bad. And it was like during Friends, so it was like, why the same thing over again?
Yeah, this was kind of right at the end of the Friends run. Like it was like the early 2000s. And
Yeah.
I don't think Friends was quite over, but they
It
definitely
was on the
ran
last
parallel.
season of Friends, I think. But there was so many shows that were doing that anyways. Like the two guys, a girl in a pizza place, and like there was just a number of. Well, we got a situation where these guys are in one apartment and these girls are in another apartment, and it's like bosom buddies or like perfect strangers. Like they just set up the same scenario and just different, mix it up every time. But
And a lot of will they, won't they
Yeah.
kind of thing as well.
yeah,
I guess mine is related to that. That's kind of funny for my answer for that.
All right, so hold on to that thought, Nick.
Yes.
So,
Tease. It's a tease.
yes, it is.
that is a tease.
All right, so thanks, Mike. Hector, what do you have in mind?
Mine is Heroes.
Oh, yes.
That
Yes.
that it spiraled down really quickly because of, I think it was a writer's strike that happened around that time. And so they had this horrible love romantic between the teen girl and their boyfriend, and then like the main villain was, something had happened with his storyline that it was going downhill. I wish I had more information. I bailed after halfway through that season. It just, every episode I was just like, this was awful, and then the next one, this was worse. There was a scene where the teen cheerleader Claire goes down a hill with her boyfriend, and they're rolling down in slow motion, and they're like hee, and it was like watching like that Star Wars movie where Anakin and Padme fall in love, and you're just like, this isn't romantic at all. It was kind of like that feeling. Like,
My God.
it was like watching that, but for episodes on end instead of watching like a 2-hour movie.
And I'm totally with you. The first season was so good. And then it just...
I don't know what happened. Was it the second season? It might have been the second season even, or a second or third. I can't remember where it derailed, but it was somewhere along there.
Jesus. And I think you had the honorable mention as well, Hector, right?
Yeah, I might get a little bit of shit for this, but Fringe, because it jumped the shark with, it started going into an alternate universe, which to some was like, oh, this is kind of cool. But then they started doing like there'd be like a bad version of a character and a good version of a character. And it started to feel like some sort of 70s NBC show. It just didn't go well for me. I don't know. Some people really liked it though. I just didn't. I think it was season 2 or 3 of Fringe. Probably 3. Yeah.
I can just throw in a quick recommendation for a good alternate universe TV series. It lasted 2 seasons a few years ago. It was called Counterpart with J.K. Simmons.
Oh, okay. I'll check it out.
I forgot which network it was on, but look it up if you can. It was really good, honestly. All right, so thank you, Hector. Nick, what do you have?
My pick is How I Met Your Mother, the very last season, season 9. I don't know if people followed that show or watched it. It's a show that I watched throughout my high school and undergrad years. So I felt like I kind of grew up with the show in many ways. And the last season, it takes place over the course of a 3-day weekend at a wedding. And yeah, it's just a lot of the charm and the humor. It just wasn't there for that last season. And it's one of those final seasons where I think, I don't know how people feel about this, where like a show's pretty likable and whatnot. And yeah, fans kind of turned on it. It kind of soured a lot of people how they viewed that show. And I rewatched it a few years ago during the pandemic, and a lot of it really doesn't hold up, but it's like a sentimental favorite, How I Met Your Mother. But it kind of follows that similar Friends sitcom kind of format. It's from the same people who did Friends. But yeah, that's my pick. I don't know if people watched that season 9.
Angie did. Yeah, she felt the same.
Yeah, my son and I watched it too, and I agree with that final episode was just like Game of Thrones kind of thing. It's like, seriously?
Didn't they make like another version of the last episode where it ended differently, and the fans were like, "Oh, why didn't this one air instead?" Yeah,
I believe it's on the because I'm a completist too, so I always get all the DVDs. I used to, at least before the streaming was a thing, and I would like looked at that. I was like, "Fuck this! Why did I buy this?" And then I bought it for that reason, just because I think they had the alternative ending.
yeah.
Wow. All right. Thanks, Nick. My answer would be, that's my answer, but it would also answer another question. And that question would be, what was the biggest drop between seasons of a TV show? And my answer to that question and this question would be True Detective Season 2. I hated
Agreed.
that season. It was a complete swing and a miss. I remember one of the episodes of a big shootout in the second episode, maybe. It ended on a freeze frame. And I was like, this is fucking amateur hour.
That's film school bullshit. Ended on a freeze frame.
Freeze frame of Tom Selleck, Higgins.
And I was like, this is garbage. And Rick Springfield like playing some kind of like, I don't know. It sucked. It fucking sucked. And as much as I loved season 1, I couldn't find anything. Like I guess, Vince Vaughn was all right. You work with what you have, and, most of the performances were all right, I guess, but I don't know. It was such a whiff. You guys saw that season, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess season 3 was a bit better, but still not as good as season 1.
Well, that first season was so good. I mean, it built up to that awesome ending. Yeah, it was hard to beat that.
Yes. And no, yeah, I hated that season. I still finished it because, as you said, Woody, I'm also an idiot. So there you go. Oh, God. So, yeah. So, and the next season of True Detective, and this is maybe the worst plug ever, will start in mid-January. So, in about a month with Jodie Foster and someone else. I forgot. You guys remember? Or that's okay. We'll.
I didn't even know there was a 4th season, so.
Okay.
Well, I didn't like the 2nd season so much, I didn't watch it.
I gave up after season. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did too.
Agreed.
Okay.
That's what I did too. Yeah.
The third one was good-ish. Like if the first season was, let's say, a 9 and the second season was a 3, maybe the third, let's say season 3 was maybe, it was solid. Let's say 7.5-ish. And so, yeah, so that's question 1. So what about question 2? Let's jump right in. Woody, what do you have? What is your favorite TV commercial ever? So what do you have for us?
Okay, so I'm 8 years old. In 4th grade, I played what was called rocket football here in my part of the States. It's junior football. And I was on a team called the Steelers. And we had the Pittsburgh Steeler logo, the whole deal. I had number 12, and so I was a big Terry Bradshaw fan because they showed that was like the team of the time, the Iron Curtain and all of that stuff. Or Steel Curtain. And then during the Super Bowl, they have, I think it's Super Bowl. Anyway, they have the famous Coca-Cola commercial with Mean Joe Green, where Mean Joe Green is walking down, he's just hobbling, and the kid goes, "Hey, do you need some help?" And Mean Joe goes, "No, I don't need any help." And he goes, "How about a Coke?"
Oh, yeah.
And he gives him the Coke, and Mean Joe Green drinks it down, and Mean Joe Green throws him his jersey. And it's just like, as a kid playing on a team, with that being my favorite team, that one is stuck. And I know it's cliche because it's considered one of the best commercials ever. But it's one of those that with me, like the minute you mentioned this one, I'm like, oh, that's a no-brainer. Just because it took me back to when I was 9. And it's just one of those things where it's just like, oh, that was just so cool.
Nice.
That's mine.
Did you play QB if you had number 12?
No, I was a lineman.
Oh, okay.
So, which is, I mean, yeah, they didn't, it's little kid football. So it doesn't really they don't do that. But no, that was the thing, is I was an offensive and a defensive lineman. So that's another reason why when it was Mean Joe, I was like, kind of like,
nice.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice. All right. So Hector, sorry, you were saying?
Oh, no, I was going to ask for you because I didn't think you could hear you.
Oh.
Woody was in his head too much. He was going to meet.
I went back to be a 9, you guys. Come
God,
on.
where's?
No, yeah.
It was like that Twilight Zone episode.
I should have known better. I shouldn't have tried to interrupt that magic moment.
Yeah, he was having a Folger's Taster's Choice moment.
All right, thanks, Woody. Mike, what do you have?
So ads for me are all about nostalgia because I don't personally care about advertisements very much in the sense that, like, you know, whatever. But the Toys R Us theme from the 80s, like the Toys R Us kid song, just makes me think of being a kid, kind of like Woody, 8, 9 years old. That came on. And we had around that time is when Toys R Us opened up a location near us. So, you know, I can still sing it off the top of my head. And yeah, there's that. And honorable mention goes to the EDS. To be, I don't know who they got bought out by, but I had friends that worked for them. And they had a Super Bowl commercial, and it's the classic Herding Cats. And it's kind of like a Spinal Tap because it's a straight mockumentary of these cat herders. And, you know, they're showing off their scars. And it's really funny if you like those mockumentary kind of things. But yeah, the Toys R Us kid for nostalgia, and probably the funniest one is the Herding Cats one for me.
I remember that one now, the cat herders. Like when you posted the link, it didn't ring a bell, but now I remember. And yeah, that's a good shout. It was pretty good.
A lot of ads just come and go, right? Like it's fun. Oh, you know, you laugh or I mean, because I'm, you know, I like comedy ones or what have you. You know, I remember in the 80s, like there was I can't remember, was it Folgers or something? And it was like the man and woman in the apartments.
Taster's Choice?
Taster's Choice, yeah, maybe. Like, and I'm sure like those were dramatic, and I'm sure there were people that actually cared about it as much as Falcon Crest that it was probably played during. But none of that mattered to me and never has. So I'll go with the two I said.
Nice. All right. So, and to the listeners, in the show notes, I will post links to those commercials, and just in case it doesn't ring a bell. All right. So thanks, Mike. Hector, what do you have?
Yeah, I went for the goofy ass commercials. I had two. I'll describe one. The other one I can't even describe. I guess you'll have to watch the YouTube link. But the one commercial was, God, what was it? Volkswagen Jetta or something like that. And it's like 1999. And a couple's driving the car, and the husband turns to the wife in the passenger and goes, "Honey, remember that tape that you and I made that one night, just you and I?" And she goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "I think I just returned it." And so they slam the brakes and turn the car around. And the commercial's supposed to advertise the car's brakes. And then the last shot is everybody in the video store watching it on the TV, and you can just hear like the noises. Yeah, I don't know why that's just a goofy ass commercial. And then the second one was I guess technically it doesn't really count because it's a band commercial, but it's not for anything like lewd. It was just so goofy, and I don't know. But it's a Nutri-Grain commercial, and I guess Nutri-Grain wasn't going for insane goofiness. But it's a guy just bites a Nutri-Grain bar, and he goes, "Oh my God, I feel great." And he just starts crowding around his office and starts parading down the aisle in his office. And he tells his coworker, like, I feel great. And then he somehow magically gets the other guy to also go insane and like, you're great. I love it. You know what? He's like, he tells his boss. That's right. He tells his boss, like, "I'm quitting." And he's like, "You know what? I'm going to follow you." And we're going. And then they go, and then they leave the office, and then he finds a girl, and he's like, you're hot, and I want to get married. Let's get married. And she says, "All right, but I want lots of kids." And he's like, "Yeah, 500 of them." And she's like, "Yeah, babies everywhere." And they just start parading down the aisles, and then they're leaving the office, and the big boss walks in, and this guy's like, "Yeah, meet the boss. He's and then they end up convincing him, and he's like, "You know what? That's it. And then they just start screaming, and it just ends with all them screaming in insanity. It's so I'm not doing anything justice here. You just gotta watch how dumb and silly it is, and I don't know why it just does it for me. Whenever I'm in a bad mood, I gotta watch something dumb.
Did you take LSD before watching TV?
I think you would.
Because Jesus,
I think everyone in the commercial did. It is just so goofy. I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like watching like a Naked Gun type of commercial. You know, it's just such a parody and goof. Like I don't know how to describe it. Just like when you just need to blurt laugh. That's the perfect combination.
That sounds wild. All right.
Yeah, it's super weird. It's super weird, but it's super goofy.
All right. Thank you, Hector. Nick, what do you have?
My pick is David Fincher commercial that he directed in 1993, and it's Blade Roller. And my reason for picking this is because I don't know if you guys are or know this about me, but I used to teach film studies and I actually taught a class on David Fincher. So when I started the class, a lot of people don't realize that he got his start in music videos
Mhm.
and commercials. That's how he developed his reputation as an in-demand director in those two areas. And among his most famous is Blade Runner, which is an homage to Ridley Scott's Blade Runner. And it's this really cool, futuristic looking commercial about a curfew, and then a boy wants a Pepsi, and these group of vigilantes on rollerblades get the kid a Coke, and they give it to him, and then they disappear into the night. And it's just such a memorable, fun commercial. And it was one that happened when Coca-Cola was really celebrating, I think, an anniversary or the Always Coca-Cola or something like that. So they had other directors film commercials that year, and Fincher's, I always thought, stood out the most. And I always think it's amazing too how a commercial like that, 60 seconds, it cost over $2 million to make. And
Oh.
just incredible. And I don't know if anyone knows this about that commercial. It's one of the only commercials I can think of that is preserved at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City in their
Okay.
film department. So,
Interesting. I
Wow.
didn't know that.
yes.
I'm watching it now. I don't recall that at all.
No. I loved when they'd get directors to make like big budget commercials. There was I think it was BMW, and they got
Oh,
Clive
yes.
Owen. You remember those? It's like short
Yeah,
films.
they were amazing. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I love when
Yeah,
they do
the one
like
with
that.
Guy Ritchie and Madonna.
Yeah.
Yes.
There were a few of those, like a handful of them.
My wife worked for BMW at the time, and they had like a DVD that contained them
Yep.
all.
One of them was directed by John Frankenheimer. It had a chase scene in it, of course. And
Yeah.
oh God, I forgot the other ones. But yeah, like high profile directors. And I think there were 6 of them, right?
Something like that.
So yeah, BMW The Hire. That
The
was
Hire,
the thing.
that was it, yeah.
I remember, yeah. And that's a good shout. Okay, so yeah, thanks, Nick. And my answer would be, you probably remember that one, the one that Martin Scorsese did for American Express,
Yes. Yes.
when he
yeah.
comes to goes to the photo.
The 1 hour photo.
Yeah, exactly, to have them develop, and then he looks at them, too dark, too literal, too violent, too nostalgic. What do you think? And he shows one to the clerk, and the clerk says, "Oh, I think it's pretty." And the look of disgust Scorsese shoots him. It's awesome. Yeah, it's one of my favorites. And I would go honorable mention. It would be a subcategory in itself. You mentioned, Hector, you liked it when high profile names were involved in commercials. And I think in the 90s, you used to have a bunch of famous soccer players doing ads for Nike or, Reebok or whatever.
Fincher.
Fincher did one?
Oh, a lot.
I didn't know that.
That was that was like in between his music videos.
I didn't know that.
Sorry to
But
interrupt you.
No, it's okay. And I think the one that stands out to me would be the one they are in like an old Roman arena and they play against demons. This is an old one because one of them, they had a bunch of famous players, as I said, and one of them was Paolo Maldini, and he was a defender and also one of the gentleman defenders, if you like. And you see those, demons come out of nowhere. And Maldini was next to Eric Cantona, who played for Manchester United. And that guy was he was a scorer, a striker, but he was also like a bulldog and a mean son of a bitch. And like Maldini says, "Oh, maybe they're friendly." And Cantona looks at him with contempt almost. And you have like Campos in goal and, Kluivert as well. And, a bunch of famous guys in the 90s. yeah, I know many of you don't give a shit about soccer, but to me, it was awesome.
That's awesome.
Just to take that for a second, my
Please.
backup answer for Fincher, because it always goes back to Fincher, I guess, with commercials is he did a really famous one in 1992 with Charles Barkley on Broadway. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It's in black and white, and it's like this
that rings a bell.
Broadway like commercial.
That rings a bell.
I'll have to look that one later.
Oh,
That
it's
sounds
so
familiar.
good. And it's funny because it's almost the throwback to Madonna's Vogue, which he directed.
Ah, he did that. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Fincher did so many
Jesus.
iconic music videos. He did
Yeah,
Janie's Got a Gun for Aerosmith and, Paul Abdul. And, oh, God, there's so many. It's like,
Okay.
I'm like drawing a blank, but
9 Inch Nails.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So yeah, that's my answer. So we can,
Nice.
if you guys are okay with it, we can move on to TV unless you guys wanted to throw something in or you're good.
David Fincher did another. No, get it.
Right?
We will have another episode dedicated to Fincher. And I wouldn't mind that because honestly, he might be my second favorite director after Scorsese. Fincher is fucking awesome.
Oh, my God. I literally wrote that in the chat. It is. Yes.
We will probably go back to that in the movie section. Just saying.
Yes.
No spoilers, but just saying. So let's switch gears and talk about some TV. Woody, what do you have for us?
All right. So thank you for letting me kick it off.
No problem.
All right. So you told us to isolate it down to like 3 or 4. So I've got my list, and but I want to make sure because
Yeah, we have 2 months to catch up. Sorry.
right, exactly. I know. Well, no, because I'm like the Mike Drew of this one this time. I have only like 2 movies, but I've got like 15 TV shows. So
Okay.
I'm going to cherry pick the good ones. So the first one I want to go with is the live action version of One Piece on Netflix. So if you guys are familiar with One Piece, is a manga that was started back, I think, in 2004 and has over like 1,000 animated episodes now as well. It's something my son was really into, that when I saw the live action version coming out, I'm like, oh, this is cool. This is something he and I will watch together. And we sat down to watch. It blew me away. It is one of my top 10 shows of the year. And I don't know anything about the manga. I don't know. I tried to watch the anime, but the anime it's built for 11-year-old boys, basically. It's really over the top animation and it's a Japanese style. I just don't like how they do it. But this live action version was awesome. Even to the point of my son would go, I'd always look at him and he goes, it's close enough. And I'm like, cool. My son's 23, so it's not like he's a little kid. He's a connoisseur of this stuff. And it is you don't have to know anything about it other than the show is all about its joy. The main character is Monkey D. Luffy, who wants to become the king of the pirates. And it's all about him building a crew to go and sail. It's really cool. It's 8 episodes, I think, hour long each. If you're looking for something like with a kid to watch, it's really uplifting and fun. I mean, there's some violent stuff in it, but overall, it's one of the best shows I've seen.
Nice.
All right. Second one I'm going to go with is also probably in my top 10 this year is Blue Eye Samurai, another animated film on Netflix.
I watched the first episode tonight and I'm on board. It's pretty good. It's very good.
I stopped about 20 minutes into it because I didn't like the animation style.
Okay.
It's a computer-generated animation style to kind of try to look like old Japanese drawings almost. But somebody told me, no, stick it out. And it is fantastic. It's violent.
Yes.
There's nudity.
Also, yes.
There's stuff you don't expect in an animated show. But
Also something to watch with the kids.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So story-wise, though, it's one of the cooler stories I've seen in a long time. So Blue Eye Samurai on Netflix. Third one I'm going to throw in, our friend Tom Newberg just stumbled into that this week, but it's Welcome to Wrexham Season 2.
Okay.
I think this is one of the best documentary TV shows out there. Season 2, the way they weave through the stories of not only the men's team itself getting promoted. Everybody knows they got promoted. Spoilers. I told you, Nick, I was going to do spoilers after I said something. But they go into the women's team, which I didn't even realize. Ryan Reynolds and Ron McElhaney, who bought into the team, they're also involved with the women's team as well. It is heartbreaking and joyful beyond words. So if you've not watched season 2 of Welcome to Wrexham, watch it. There are just like bottle episodes that, I mean, just tear your heart out with grief, and then they pay it off with joy at the end. It is fantastic.
Wow. All right.
So then my number 4, then my last one, and then I've got a don't watch, just so you know as well, is the 60th anniversary special of Doctor Who that just came out the past 2 Saturdays. So it's on Disney Max here in the States. It's BBC in the UK. I don't know if probably Disney Plus for you guys in Canada ish.
Probably.
Something like that.
I think it's Crave.
Crave. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's possible.
So.
Well, no, because they switched, because it was like it. Anyway, it's on a new streaming service in the US, but it's reteaming David Tennant and Catherine Tate. So the Doctor and the Donna, and there's still 2 like weekly episode style format shows of the Monster of the Week kind of thing. But it's been 15 years since those 2 were on screen together playing the Doctor and Donna. And again, like you guys are talking about the feelings that just drag you back in time, that drug me back in time to a really kind of cool place. And especially the second episode was awesome, but they're doing this all in a way to set up the new Doctor that's coming in, because Stephen Moffat came back to write the show and produce and direct the show. So again, can't highly recommend those 2 episodes enough. I actually used the meme of the big strong guy yelling at the girl in the corner, and it's me explaining to my wife why Doctor Who's 60th was so special, because she's literally sitting watching the second episode with me going, "What's the matter with you?" She goes, "You keep crying and stuff." I'm like, "You don't understand how cool this is."
So I was a huge fan, especially during that era, right? And I will say this, one of my favorite episodes of Doctor Who ever is the first one where he meets Donna back in whatever, 2000, whatever it was. That is one of the top episodes in my eyes ever. The rest of the season with him with Tate is okay. She's not my favorite companion, but that first episode is brilliant.
It is. My wife adores that season. I told her that I love it, but the end of that series, and I don't want to spoil it, but it ends in a way that it felt like, well, what was the point of her? Like, usually they always have a way that each character grows.
Have you seen these 2 shows?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, because we haven't seen any of the Lady Doctor series, and I was going to ask if I needed to watch that series in advance.
No. Okay. These 2 episodes, I'll call it a bit of a cheat, but they pay it off.
Okay.
Because I agree with you too. The whole, if she remembers him, she'll die thing.
Yeah. And it just feels like, what have we been doing here? Like,
exactly. All right. So that's my last of the good shows. All right. I almost answered this for the first question of the other section, but I didn't like the show as a totality enough for this to do that. But the final season of Archer, the animated series on FX, I always just found that a kind of a fun, crude, stupid kind of show. But in our desire, because we're all completists on stuff, I watched that final season. It was bad. Don't waste your time. If any of you guys are thinking about catching up with it later, don't worry about it. The last end of the last season was fine. Just move on. That's my TV stuff.
All right. Okay, thanks. And by the way, Mike, I checked Crave quickly and I didn't find anything on Doctor Who, but I think the search function on Crave is notoriously bad. So it might be there and I didn't see it.
Yeah, I could be wrong. I don't know.
Like, fellow Canadians, double check on that. Or maybe just use justwatch.com and it should be there. All right, so thank you, Woody. Mike, what do you have on TV?
All right. Honorable mentions, I won't get into them. Season 3 of Only Murders in the Building. Season 2 of Lincoln Lawyer. There was a show on Apple TV called Still Up, kind of a rom-com thing. It was good. Payback, which is on BritBox here in Canada. It's a British crime drama. It was okay. The Robbie Williams documentary that is on Netflix. If you're a fan,
to watch that,
it's worth seeing. It's well done. It's interesting. It's basically him watching old clips of himself through time from, the start of Take That up until now. NCIS Sydney. It's only one episode in.
Hmm.
Shout out to our friend John Mutford, who's currently in Australia. It seems not great, but the scenery looks pretty awesome because Sydney's a great town. And I watched the first episode of Slow Horses tonight. Okay, yes.
Yes.
So, very good.
Yes.
Drink, everybody drink.
Yes.
Just Slow Horses.
Okay, so the four shows since last time we spoke. Hijacked on Apple TV, really good. You know, Patrick, you and I have traveled in this year. I know our friend Nick has been on a plane several times as well. We wanted for our trip to be over before we started watching it. Really well done. Very 24-ish in the sense that every hour is a real hour on the television. And really liked it. Idris Elba was awesome, as you can imagine. Every episode was a kind of a cliffhanger, but enough that it was like, is the next one there yet? And you just, you got right into it. Okay, a show probably most people haven't heard of. It's an Australian, I don't want to say comedy. It's, I would say a dramedy, for lack of a better term. It's called In Limbo. It's basically about these two friends. One of them, it's not a spoiler to say, commits suicide. And it turns out that he ends up in limbo. So he hasn't passed on entirely. And him and his friend figure out that there's something unsettled on Earth and he has to take care of that before he can move on. And the only person that can see him is his friend, who's an Australian actor named Ryan Corr. He's kind of a character actor who's been in a lot of Australian series. He's a great actor. He is amazing in this show. I think it's 6 episodes. I will say I liked it a lot more than my wife did, which is usually the other way around. She'll like something more than I do. And we've talked about this. I'm drifting to my phone. I actually really enjoyed it. I would recommend it. I don't normally like those shows that are kind of like have that element of disbelief. I mean, I'll always do to some extent, but I really like this. And probably Ryan Corr's performance was the main reason. All right, I know I'm flying through this really quickly.
It looks to be on Apple TV Plus in the States.
Oh, is it in Limbo? Okay, cool. Sorry, I didn't realize that. Number 4, my fourth one that I will pick that I'll spend the time talking about, and you mentioned Eric Cantona from Man U, was the Beckham documentary on Netflix. I will say I'm totally biased. I watched, a lot of soccer, or any soccer I could at that point, because it was before the internet. I mean, the internet was there, but you weren't watching full games on it. It certainly weren't streaming them. So, we used to be in Canada, we would get maybe 1 or 2 games on a Saturday. And,
Yep.
I listen, that Manchester United team, I've said it a million times to anybody who'll listen to me. I was never a Man U fan.
Same.
But that team of the mid-90s was probably the prettiest team I've ever seen play. I can't say that, even somebody like Roy Keane, who you could, obviously Roy Kent, I feel like is based on him, like kind of that gruff, like killer. And Patrick understands all these references, but it was such a wonderful slice of nostalgia. And the story, listen, being in the UK for some of that, I always knew that the UK press was like this horrific thing. I feel bad for these guys watching it. And listen, I get documentaries can be put through a certain lens and can be twisted to make it seem like something. But I do remember a lot of these and the things that you realize the way that they were treated. I don't know how people live like that. Like you can have all the money in the world, but when you've got a camera in your face 23 out of 24 hours a day, I don't know. And even Victoria, who always seemed like the one that was maybe, again, portrayed in the media as like the snobby one, hence the name Posh Spice, she's actually quite likable, and her and there's a lot of talking heads in it. I think Cantona is actually one of them, but it's so well done. And if you're a soccer fan, especially if you kind of were paying attention at that time, it's really good. And, Bex and I are the same age and we just, being a soccer fan, again, that Man U team was just something unbelievable. I can't recommend that one enough if you fall into that category. The nostalgia of it for me was perfect. The music goes with the 90s Britpop, etc. It's right up my alley. And I liked it a lot more than I thought. And that's really the sign of a good show to me. So,
yeah, it's been in my queue because in the States, we didn't get that.
Oh, okay.
Or if we did, I wasn't aware of it. So like that whole team is just
I don't think so.
lost to me. But the only thing, they show the clip of Victoria being interviewed, and she's like, "Oh no, I grew up in very humble beginnings."
they're all-
He pops his
yeah.
head out, and he's like, "What kind of car did your dad drive you to work in or school in?" Well, it was a Rolls Royce, but we had other
Yeah.
cars.
Oh,
You're not
Christ.
working class.
No, listen, and you would think, and that clip is really funny because there's no sense in arguing that she wasn't privileged growing up. Bex wasn't. I mean, when you hear the story, if you don't know it already, I mean, he was very fortunate. He was a great player though, right? I mean, he was, the way the system works over there is that they're scouted super early, like most sports, I'm sure. But I mean, he signed for, I don't know, was he 12 when he signed for Man U? I mean,
12 or 14 or something like that. Yeah.
12 or 14, yeah. Super early,
Yeah.
Yeah, just amazing. He had met Sir Alex Ferguson as a kid and all this stuff, but really good. Yeah, sorry. I don't know if, Patrick, you want to say anything about it, if you've seen it yet or...
No, I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but I really hate Manchester United, so I don't know if I want to put myself through it. But I've been thinking about
I
it.
can't say I was a fan either, but I honestly really liked this. And again, that's kind of my mark of a good, especially documentary to me, is like taking a subject that I either walk in thinking I don't care about this, or that I don't like, or didn't like, and getting a new take.
No, yeah, absolutely. And in a way, you're almost disappointed that you didn't hate it. Why am I not hating this?
Yeah, no, it was so well done. And, and then obviously it goes beyond that and to where he is now with Miami and stuff. But yeah, it's really good. And I'm just going to end really quickly. So there was one show that I can't say I was disappointed in it because I never watched it, but I wanted to. And I saw the clips. I'll tell you. So there was a Netflix show that just started called Who is Aaron Carter? And you know what I'm talking about?
God.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I've heard,
I saw this and I thought, okay, it's this kind of British crime thing. And, it looks kind of silly, but might be okay. I heard about 2 or 3 other, television podcasts that I listened to. All of them spoke about it in like, this is the worst show. This is an abomination. Just how did Netflix spend any money on this? So I never went to it, but if anybody's watched it and can convince me otherwise too, please feel free to contact me. But yeah, it was on my list, like you said, Woody, with Beckham, and I just like, okay, delete it. But sounded terrible.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Hector, what do you have?
I'll start with Yellow Jacket season 2. I got a free trial of Showtime just to watch it because I loved season 1 so much, and this one didn't disappoint. It was excellent. It's a brutal show. The second season is even more brutal than the first. Actually, it's almost hard to watch at times. I don't know if you guys have seen any episodes of it, but I recommend getting a trial of Showtime just so you can check that out. I think it's 9 or 10 episodes, an hour long, so you belt 2 out a day, you're good to go. But yeah, I really recommend that one. Twisted Metal, that was based off of Woody's recommendation. Not only did I enjoy it, I watched it a second time, and then I got someone else into watching it that I thought would enjoy it, and he also raved about it. So yes, that's a lot of fun. It's silly popcorn entertainment. It's so like daft and goofy. It's just fun to watch, and it's like kind of like not Mad Max, but like if Mad Max were like a comedy, dystopian, but like outrageously goofy, like Waterworld meets Mad Max.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe it. It's off the wall, but it's so much fun. I only got through a few episodes of The Continental. I thought it was okay, but it just felt like like John Wick Jr. Like it just didn't bring anything to the table for me.
That's what I've heard as well.
I liked it. I edited it off my list just to be concise, but I liked it. I thought for what it was,
all right,
of kind of giving the backstory of how he takes over. My only problem was he didn't have Ian McShane's accent. That was my biggest problem.
Oh yeah. And then my last one is The Fall of the House of Usher, which is also very brutal, but it's rewarding. Like it's hard to say that because you're watching people die very horrifically, but you're almost rooting for them to die, which is sick, but it's really funny.
That's the world we live in now.
Yeah, that's another Mike Flanagan project from House on Haunted Hill and Dr. Sleep and other stuff.
Yes.
But yeah, that's another flyby. That's really good. So check that one out on Netflix.
All right.
And I just started Blackbird, which I am I think that was on Hulu. I might be wrong about that. It might be Paramount Plus.
I don't know what that is.
That's with Taron Egerton.
Okay.
All I know is he's in prison and he's like mob related. I could be wrong. I started it and then I meant to go back to it, but everyone tells me that I need to go back to it because it's amazing. So Blackbird is one. Apple TV, that's what it is. Yeah, I'm getting all my streamers mixed up, Nick. Sorry, but yeah, Blackbird, which is getting a lot of praise. So I want to finish that one.
All right. Thank you, Hector. Nick, what do you have?
So Mike Drew mentioned one of the shows that I watched, and that's Only Murders in the Building season 3. It's a show that, while I like the characters, and I will always watch anything Martin Short and Steve Martin do because they're amazing and lovable and iconic, I don't know, like the joke is starting to wear off a little, and it took like this third season, it was kind of dragging, and I don't know, it wasn't the best
Easily the worst.
I agree. Yeah.
There you have it.
Oh yeah,
The Paul Rudd,
by a lot.
Stamp of disapproval.
Yeah. Paul Rudd. I was going to say
Paul
that.
Rudd's character, I didn't understand it at all.
It was like, I thought it was too obvious too who did it. Like, if for people who watched it, I kind of thought it was that the entire time, and yeah, I don't know. It's just, it was aloof, and like, I'll probably watch the fourth season because I like these characters, but I think it's starting to wear thin. And I think that was a show that could have benefited from just one season, and that's it. And I think it would have been, I'm just afraid it's going to lose its reputation.
Mm.
Another show that I did watch was Shrinking. I did finally watch that. Excellent. Love Jason Segel. Another Jason Segel show I'm talking about today, because I talked about How I Met Your Mother. But Harrison Ford is also in it. I loved it. It was this really good blend of comedy and drama. And it talks about therapists and how really screwed up they are. And I just really, really liked it. I started Fall the House of the Usher because my TV club is going to be doing that this weekend. So I'm on the second or third episode. So it's good so far. Mike Flanagan's fantastic.
Yeah.
He's very unique. And a show I've been starting that's still on the air that I've been enjoying is The Curse.
It's on my list. Yeah.
Which is on Showtime and Paramount Plus with Emma Stone and Nathan Fielder. I will forever stand Nathan Fielder. He is hilarious. Oh my God, Nathan For You. If no one has seen that show, watch it. It's so good. I die laughing every time I watch it. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's so, so good. And he did a show last year called The Rehearsal that was fantastic on Max, because it's not HBO Max anymore. But The Curse is are you guys familiar with what The Curse is about?
I am.
I've heard of it.
Just basically, it's this couple who lives in New Mexico, of all places. They want to be these HGTV couple to make a TV show. They're trying to rebuild the community in New Mexico. And one of the children that they try to, I guess, lowball and all, with a candy sale or lemonade stand or whatever, puts a curse on him. And then the whole rest of the series so far is how the curse affects them and the characters in their orbit or in their world. And it's really funny, and it's the Safdie brothers who did Uncut Gems, and he's one of the brothers is involved in it, and he's in the show, and it's just a really good show so far. And I love Emma Stone as well. So yeah, it's I've been about halfway through, so I think it's going to end, I think, by the end of the year. So
is it going to give me a panic attack like Uncut Gems? Holy shit, man.
No, I mean, well, not really, but you see images that you will never be able to unsee, if that makes sense.
Oh boy.
But it's good. And I love everyone who's involved with it. So.
All right. Thank you, Nick. Okay, so for me, Mike, you mentioned Slow Horses. I think episode 3 will air in a couple of days. I've watched 2 of them. It's still great. I read the book it's called Real Tigers from 2016. And Gary Oldman, we've talked about this before, he steals every scene he's in. So yeah, watch it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm one episode and they posted the first 2. The next one comes out 2 days from when we record this. Yeah, he is by far, and he's he's the likable rogue, right? His character.
Yes, absolutely.
But like you said, his acting steals. It doesn't matter who else is in the shot with him. It's his scene. It's brilliant.
All right, I'll go back and watch it. What streaming service?
Apple.
Okay, then I'm not going to watch it until Shrinking comes out.
Apple TV that's just hosting all this great content no one's talking about. Oh, it's the worst.
Because they have terrible advertisers, though. That's a serious thing, though.
Yeah, of course. They have to advertise their Thursday night football that no one cares about.
I went to the dark side with an iPhone last year. And, anybody who has an iPhone is like, oh, I'm going to run out of storage. So I will, so I did the whole family plan, right? I will tell you, at least in Canada, it has gone up $9 a month within the last year.
Jesus.
Now, part of that is the television, but I'm sorry, the television is not worth $9 a month because it's so limited, the selection, and new things don't come out very often. So I've just actually canceled my subscription. I've got 2 weeks left. And after that, Slow Horses won't be done. I'm going to have to figure something out. Like you said, I might wait for Shrinking.
Well, no, just go grab it for a month and then cancel.
Yeah, I might have to do that. But it's just, I was like, why am I paying this $9? Because I don't watch it until a show like Shrinking or Slow Horses comes on. So
that's what I did, Mike, to tell you the truth. I've been canceling quite a few of the streaming subscriptions because they just get way too expensive. Like Disney Plus and Hulu went up, like for me, I don't know about you guys, like almost $10 more a month.
Yeah, Netflix just went to 22.
Did you guys do any of the Black Friday stuff? Because like we got 12 months of 12 months of Hulu with Disney, and total was $3. So it's like $36 for the whole year.
Nice.
That's with Disney and Hulu. Yeah,
It's not as good in Canada.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Have a better Thanksgiving then, guys. Have a
Right.
Thanksgiving when normal people have Thanksgiving then. You'll get a Black
in
Friday.
October, I hear you.
Or, just pirate the shit out of everything and solve the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't say that out loud.
Uh-oh.
I don't condone pirating for those
Yes.
listening to this.
And the podcast got shut down.
Also, okay, so we talked about this Blue Eye Samurai. I approve. It's very good so far.
I gotta check it.
I
Why do you gotta
think
put the so far qualifier on it? I told you it was good.
Yes. Yeah. You're right. The entire season is on Netflix. So yeah, it's not like week to week like everything else. Okay, also, I've been watching so far season 4 or 5. Anyway, the latest season of Fargo, and it's great.
Oh, Fargo. That's good.
Because the previous one with Chris Rock was really bad,
I didn't even watch it.
but they are back up to their previous level now. It's really good, solid, with Juno Temple and John Hamm.
Yeah. Those first few seasons were really strong.
Yes. So yeah, Fargo is good again. That's my summary. Okay, so also the Lazarus Project. I don't know. I don't even know if it's available in North America yet. But I finished season 2.
Yeah, you mentioned that last time.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, I gotta check that out.
So yeah, season 2 is, season 2, I remember what I said about season 1, and I think it still applies, but the main character is not as annoying as in season 1. But I think like everybody got a little dumber, but it is super watchable. And if you suspend your disbelief just a little bit and don't dig too deep into why didn't they do that, or, if you don't force the issue, it is very enjoyable. But so yeah, it has to come to North America at some point. I would be really surprised if they just, let it die over there. So yeah, Lazarus Project, check it out if you have the chance. And that's it for me and TV. Movies now. Woody, let's start with you.
All right. So I only have 2 movies. I had a third. I'm going to bring the third one up too, since we got a little bit of time. First one I'm going to go with is, okay, Patrick, plug your ears. The Marvels.
I knew it. That's okay.
There's been nothing in the theater since we've last met that I cared about. My wife and I went and saw The Marvels. It is such a charming, stupid, silly little movie for a Marvel movie. But the girl who plays Miss Marvel, Iman, just lights up the screen. She's so much fun. And the movie itself was just, it made you feel good. Plus it was like 90 minutes. So you got in and out. It's got one of the worst villains ever because they don't tell you why she's being bad until the end of the movie, when if they would have just set it up in the beginning, you would have understood her motivation. and also she's got the powers of the old guy, but that's from one of the stones, so I still don't quite get it. But overall, it was a fun, feel good. I just thought it was cool.
Okay.
And then the second one is a documentary on Max here in the States, but it's Albert Brooks Defending My Life. It is Albert Brooks, who they originally wanted him to be the host of Saturday Night Live. And he was the one who suggested to Lorne Michaels, no, you should have a different host every week, but I'll send in film, like every third week, I'll send in a film, which is why you've got the digital shorts now that are all part of Saturday Night Live. And it talks about how he framed his comedy, and like growing up, his father was a comedian named Park Your Carcass, which I thought was hilarious. And then, of course, everybody knows his brother is Super Dave Osborne. If you didn't,
I didn't know that.
Now you know that.
Super Dave.
And then they have an older brother too that they interview as well. But it's just all about his career and what a brilliant comedian he was. And the whole format of it is just him being interviewed by his best friend, Rob Reiner. Like they just finished lunch and they're just talking across the table, and then it's clips. So
Okay.
it's fantastic.
Stupid question. Is he related by any chance to the Simpsons guy, James L. Brooks?
No,
Okay.
because his actual name is Albert Einstein.
Really?
Yeah, his brother was Bob Einstein. So Super Dave Osborne is Bob Einstein, because that's part of the joke in it, is that his mother did that on purpose because she wanted to stick it to somebody. So she named her youngest son Albert. Even though she had two other chances to name a kid Albert Einstein, she waited till her third son to name him Albert.
Jesus.
And it's a whole plot line,
I love it.
which if you've ever seen his movie Mother, it's basically like, no, that's my mom.
Yeah.
Debbie Reynolds is playing his actual mom,
Huh.
and that kind of thing. So
Wow. Okay.
I highly recommend that to anybody who's a comedy fan or just a good solid documentary.
Yeah.
For a guy who some people would think is kind of an a-hole, but he's actually not. He's actually a really good dude from everything that they say about him. So that's what I would suggest. So those are my two. I'm going to skip my third one because it's not as good.
Okay. And is there anything
Got it.
that you hated enough to mention it?
No, I don't think I've walked out on anything or shut anything off. So I
Oh,
think that's been
that's
good.
a good month.
Although I will give it, hold on. I'm going to give a shout out to our friend Tony Greathouse, who said, don't watch that Candy Crush Lane thing with Eddie Murphy.
Oh.
So shout out to Tony. Nobody watched that thing. There.
Yeah, sounds good. And that echoes everything that I've heard so far. Apparently, it is absolute dog shit. So, thank you, Woody. Mike, what do you have for movies?
Well, first off, I live with a 12-year-old. I will be watching that Candy Cane Lane soon. I'm just sorry. Nothing I can do about it.
Condolences.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thoughts and prayers.
I will report back next episode, let you know how bad it
A
is.
lot of playing on your phone, I imagine.
I'm expecting a text of going, hey, wasn't that bad?
Yeah, no, doubt it. It's probably going to be, awful. 2 movies and 1 to stay away from. 1, Hallelujah. It's a British movie. It's with Jennifer Saunders, Judi Dench. Basically, the premise is there's kind of an old folks' home that's going to be, that due to budget cuts, etc., is going to be closed. And it's really kind of more of the story of the people who are in there, but it's quite heartwarming and uplifting. And, you know, it's a kind of an ensemble cast. Like I said, a Judi Dench is in it, and she's brilliant. She's not in it actually all that much, though. Really well done. And, you know, like I said, it's actually kind of a love letter to the NHS, which is their, you know, health system that they have there. Especially it came out after COVID. So I don't know if it was written during COVID, but that would make sense. Yeah, really good. And, you know, solid acting all the way through it. Okay. Second one, I just watched this the other day. Old Guys on Netflix.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Bill Burr, kind of a, you know, listen, I should have hated it. I didn't hate it. It's actually quite good. I would recommend it. It was funny. And if it's kind of that crude comedy thing that sometimes I go for. I think if you like that Jennifer Lawrence movie that came out earlier this year, with the title's escaping me.
No Hard Feelings.
I think if you like No Hard Feelings, I don't think you'd dislike this. Like, I kind of find them as like complementary. They're both, about a character who's in a rough spot and, and makes a bunch of mistakes and, tries to figure the way out of it and become a better person. And really, that's what it is.
Do you like Bill Burr?
I don't know a ton about his stand-up. I mean, listen, I know he's the producer on this, but again, I liked it for what it was. And it's not the greatest film ever. It's not Citizen Kane, if that's your watermark, but I actually really liked it. So that's all I can say. I thought it was funny. It's kind of a take on, cancel culture and what have you. And I'm sure that there are jokes that they didn't use, right? So, but yeah, I liked it. And the one I will say to stay away from is Heart of Stone on Netflix. Oh yeah, Patrick's nodding.
Yeah.
Awful. I tried. So I like spy movies and definitely like, ones that are set in, European places and etc. This was so far-fetched. I was just like, we got about half an hour into it and I said, I can't watch this anymore. Like, it's just ludicrous, terrible. What's her, I apologize. I'll probably mispronounce her name. Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot.
Yeah.
Who else is in it besides her? Because there's
Jamie Dornan. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I don't really recognize the other, but I'm old, so who knows? Oh my gosh, it was so bad. Like, it's just so far-fetched. And, I love a good spy film but this was just not good.
I haven't watched it, but I've heard the same thing. It's like, stay away at all costs.
Yeah. Well, we just thought, the trailer, in this case, the trailer, unlike that Who is Aaron Carter, well, even the trailer for that looked okay. This looked, I thought, oh, this might be fun, Nope. Stay away.
Okay. Will do. Thanks, Mike. Hector, what do you have?
Well, I'll go and looking at the list here, and I'll try to bog it down. I have a few that I can completely avoid, but I'll go right off the bat to the one that I did really enjoy, and that was Godzilla -1. Yeah, Nick knows. So I took my daughter because, like I said, we'd have been going on the Godzilla Fest for many months now, and this was the newest one and the latest one, and the last one that we had left to watch. So
Until the next one.
Yeah. Oh God. But yeah.
+1.
I already can tell because I saw the trailer for the Kong one, and I was like, this Godzilla -1 is already going to be much better than the direction that they're going with the American ones. It's just.
So it is a Japanese movie, though, right?
It is. It's a Japanese movie, and it takes place prior to the 1954 Godzilla film.
Okay.
So it's they didn't have a name for it. They actually name it there. It's like, oh well, I've heard of them. They were calling it Godzilla, and it goes from there. The main character, who's kind of played like he's like the coward. It's like his cowardice is almost to the point of like, oh my God, this guy can't catch a break. But it's definitely a character study film more than I expected it to be.
Godzilla can't get a break?
Yeah, Godzilla can't catch a break. No, yeah.
Godzilla.
I don't. Yeah. But it's good. It's very dramatic, and you feel for the characters involved. But Godzilla's kind of he's not really a main character in this. He's like not, as opposed to all the later incantations of Godzilla, where it's only Godzilla fighting a whole bunch of monsters. It's definitely in the he comes in very sparingly in this.
It's a humanist drama too, because it's very interesting because it takes place right after World War II, and like, how do you survive if you were like a kamikaze pilot, like the main character in the movie? So it's like this really interesting contrast to say something like Oppenheimer, and that's what I kept thinking of the entire time when I was watching Godzilla -1.
But Hector, if we track back to not last episode, but the previous one, you were up to 28 movies, I think, 28 Godzilla movies with your daughter.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, how many are you at?
72 movies.
Jesus.
There's that many of those? What?
It has to be a world record or something.
It's not, because after we ended the Godzilla movies, she was not done. She was like, I want more monsters. So we did Godzilla adjacent. So that was like, the single offs like Mothra, Rodan, and then
Gamera.
Gamera. We did all the Gameras. And then when she wasn't when she still hadn't gotten her fix, we watched just American monster movies. So we watched like Cloverfield and Monster Hunter and Pacific Rim and Pacific Rim 2. And it just, anything that had a giant monster in it, it was on the table. So
Jesus.
72 giant monster movies or Toho related, because there was like a couple that were not like giant monster-y, but they were like Space Amoeba and the Mysterians and like all these, films that I didn't even know existed. So yeah, we went through a giant wormhole of Toho or monster movies.
That's the deepest dive I've ever heard of.
And the deepest dive I've ever taken. I had checked out for a while, but I ended up having to rewatch one that because I'd left. I was like, I gotta go do stuff. I left for the night, or I'd go upstairs and go to sleep. And she's like, oh no, Daddy, you had to watch this one. You missed something really good. I was like, oh, okay. So then we watched it. She still can't get enough, but I'm like, we're done. There's nothing left until. And then she's like, oh no, Daddy, you haven't heard of Monarch? And I'm like, what? She's like, oh yeah, there's a TV show on Apple called Monarch, and we're gonna watch it. So that's where there's this fucking TV show now we gotta watch.
I mean, I admire your dedication.
I'm like the dad from Life is Beautiful. I'm take one for the team.
Just don't get killed by the Nazis, please.
Okay, we're good.
Spoiler.
Anyway, so yeah, Godzilla minus one, I do recommend. What else recently? So I watched Wish with Sophia. I took her to see that, and it was Nick giving the thumbs down. I think I like it a little bit better than a thumbs down, but it's so unmemorable. Like, it's just like, okay. The message was, you wish on a star and your dreams come true. That's a real stretch, Disney. I just
Happy 100th anniversary, everyone. Wish upon a star. Oh, fucking
yes, we haven't done that before. Yeah, it was just unmemorable. It was fun. Some of the songs are really good, but overall it was just kind of a shrug. Oh gosh, and then of course all of October we didn't. So I'll have to catch up with that. So Thanksgiving, surprisingly good. I do recommend that. It's a slasher. It's no frills. It's just straight up slasher, but they insert some wittiness into it and cynical farces. They do things in it that are just a little bit above your standard grade slasher. So I do recommend it. Saw X, on the other hand, is if you're into that, if you like the other Saw movies, yeah, you'll like this movie, but otherwise, that's it. It's a Saw movie. And then the one I did like the most of them was When Evil Lurks, which is on Shudder. That movie is insane. It's brutal. It'll have you going, what the fuck? Like every 5 minutes. It's so insane. And I don't even want to spoil it, but if you get a Shudder account for a month, I highly recommend watching that one. And then the last one, which is the worst of all of them, Nun 2. The Nun 2 is a snooze. Do not watch that one. The other one that I didn't care for, but a lot of people are really liking, is No One Will Save You, and that's on Hulu. I think most people like it because the lead actress, Caitlin Dever, she does a good performance. People are really, I think, overbuilding it, but she does a pretty good job. She's from Booksmart, which hot take. I didn't really like Booksmart. I thought it was okay. Everyone seems to love it, but it just wasn't really for me. But No One Will Save You, I gave it a pass, but don't take my word for that because there are a lot of people. It was very polarizing. Some people really liked it. And then the last film I have is The Creator. Again, I didn't really jive with that movie. For whatever reason, just kind of felt like it just kind of felt soulless for whatever reason.
Great visuals, apparently, but that's it pretty much.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, of course, that guy who did Rogue One.
Yes.
So it looks great, but it just didn't, for whatever reason, it just didn't do anything for me. So I skipped that one.
All right, thank you, Hector. Nick, what do you have?
So the ones that I liked the most were The Holdovers. That was a really good, feel-good movie of Paul Giamatti. I'm going to tell you, that's going to definitely win some Oscars. It's going to be a big awards contender. I really enjoyed it. Really good use of period music because it takes place in 1970 at a prep school. It's my second favorite movie of the year besides Oppenheimer so far. Just really, really good. Welcome back, Alexander Payne, after Downsizing, which was the shits.
Yeah, it wasn't
so that was really good. I liked Anatomy of a Fall.
Saw it.
I don't know if you heard about that.
Yes.
That won the Palme d'Or. It's a good Hitchcockian type of thriller. It's interesting because it's in French, English, and I think German, right, Patrick? I don't know if you've seen it.
Yep.
So it's all over the place language wise, which was a good surprise because you're not just reading subtitles for over 2.5 hours. But I really liked it, and it would provoke really good discussion down the line. Let's see.
Mm.
I really like Priscilla. That was a good one. The Sofia Coppola movie about Priscilla Presley. It's like the antithesis of Baz Luhrmann's Elvis. So it's really good contrast between the two. I really enjoyed that. I saw The Killer in New York City when I went, before it went to Netflix. David Fincher, again, shout out to David. Michael Fassbender made 2 movies like in the last month, and it's like he's one of my favorite actors. And it's like, what a time to be alive to be in a world where they're doing a movie together. The Killer's fantastic. I loved it. It was a good thriller. Fassbender is such a great actor, but a lot of the movies he's done the last decade are not worthy of his talent, I think, or stature. I don't know. He's always good at everything, but
Yeah.
like what he gets, sometimes you're like, come on, you're better than that, Michael.
Alien Covenant was such dog shit. That's just one example.
Oh, so many, Patrick. But I'll watch anything he did. And I did see Next Goal Wins too, which was okay. I think the problem is that people were compared it to like What Do We Do in the Shadows and Jojo Rabbit and the Thor movies. And it's like, okay, it's not those movies, but like we all need a good feel good underdog sports comedy every now and then. Like it's
We
not
do?
going to win awards, but
Okay.
Yet to watch it.
it's a cute movie. What else did I see? Saltburn was weird. I would love to hear your guys' take on Saltburn. It's good, but it's a wild trip of a movie. I saw it with 80-year-old man that was in the room and like a 20-something-year-old girl. So like talk about like weird demographics to see that movie.
Yep, that's what I heard.
Let's see, really quick. I did not really like Napoleon. I saw that yesterday. Yeah, it's like Ridley Scott is great, but he never edits his movies well. And then he like says, "Oh, I got like a 4-hour cut like Blade Runner," and you're just like, dude, just like I don't know, like how many versions of Blade Runner do we need? Like I love Blade Runner, but it's like what we're on like half a dozen at this point.
He's like Oliver Stone. Like, just make one fucking cut and call it a day.
This should have been a TV series,
Yeah,
honestly.
it should have. I think what they should have did is, and not to spoil anything, because if you know Napoleon's life, they should have just focused on his wife, like Josephine. That's what they should have just focused on to make it more interesting. But it's like too ambitious. It's like bizarrely constructed and edited. And you're thinking like there's scenes like that just didn't make sense or went too fast. And I was like, what's going on? And that's how I felt about the Hunger Games movie too. Like it was like it started off really good. And those movies, like the first one's good and then it kind of like really declined. And this one, it was very long. It's almost 3 hours. And the last hour is just like it takes a 180 and then it gets dark and then it's like trying to set up for another movie that I don't even know if there is going to be another movie. So yeah. Oh, one that I will recommend, by the way, is Dream Scenario with Nicolas Cage.
Okay.
Heard good things.
So it's an A24 and Ari Aster produced it. So that's all you need to know. That's a fucked up movie. It has, I think, one of the best fart sequences in modern movies. Like you laugh, but it's like a comedy, and it's interesting because it's about cancel culture, and yeah, I don't want to give anything away, but it's good. And movies that sucked were Five Nights at Freddy's. I saw
I'm
that.
so glad Sophia doesn't want to watch that.
Oh my god, that was not good.
Not even for free on Peacock. She's like, nope.
Honestly, Hector, I think I've had
Hmm.
I had birthday parties at Chuck E. Cheese that were scarier than that movie, quite honestly. And then what was the other one that I didn't like, really? Oh, Wish I did not like. Oh, and I did see, ironically, you mentioned Thanksgiving. I saw Thanksgiving on Thanksgiving Day.
There you go.
That's the way to do it.
Sorry, I listed way too many movies, but I just, you know.
Yeah, you've seen a bunch, so go crazy. That's okay. Thanks. I saw Anatomy of a Fall as well. One thing that might strike North American audiences is how different a court case or a tribunal session is done in France compared to here. It's much more of a conversation. That was an interesting part. And what else? I caught up on this summer's blockbusters. I saw Oppenheimer. It might be my second favorite of the year, maybe, or third, but it's right up there. Loved it. Could have been shorter because there were a few parts that I know why they were there, but I didn't care as much about those parts than other parts. Okay, what else? Barbie. I saw that. I liked it, but I don't think it was like, it wasn't the life-changing event that some people say it was, you know?
I saw that too, Patrick, opening day, and I was like, okay, like it's fine, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's solid 7, I guess. Another potential favorite for this year was The Killer. You mentioned it, Nick. I loved it. It was so weird because like he's supposed to be a top pro. I mean, okay, spoiler-ish, but like he's supposed to be a top pro and he fucks up in real weird ways. And he's got this constant internal monologue, and the action interrupts him sometimes, and it's really strange. And the music as well, considering his character and the soundtrack, the combination is really ironic and funny at the same time. Some really funny parts as well. I loved it. And Fincher, the visuals, the way Fincher shoots and edits, it's very specific. You can see this is a Fincher movie, and I thought it was fantastic.
I love the Killer. It was good, and he's such a good like frame and a shot, and saying so much with the camera. Like Fincher's like really like if you think of like Fight Club and Seven and The Social Network, it's all about like alienation and isolation with these characters, and
that's true.
Yeah, it's just he's so good. I could talk about him all day, quite honestly.
And The Killer was also very polarizing because I've also heard very negative comments about it, and I can see why some people would hate it, but personally, I loved it.
I don't want to trust anyone that doesn't like David Fincher's movies, quite honestly. No, I'm kidding. As I alienate half the audience.
That's okay.
I'm sorry, audience.
That's all right. All right. So yeah, we had to breeze through 2 months of stuff. Sorry, guys, if I had to rush you a little bit, but we're good on time. So mission accomplished. All right. So where can we reach you guys online? Woody, let's start with you.
Hit me up on Instagram at The Wooden Chef.
All right. Thank you very much. Mike, what about you?
Instagram as well. Pickies with Filters. PICIES with filters.
All right. Thank you. Hector?
On Twitter at Classic Hexagon. I think I'm the same on Instagram as well. And Facebook, just my name, Hector Jarris.
All right. Thank you. Nick, what about you?
You could find me at my podcast handle, which is at Rockin' Retro Pod on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. And you could also look for my Twitter account, which is ND Bamback.
All right. Thank you. Feel free to drop us a line at EETF Pod on Twitter and EETF Pod on Instagram as well. Any last thoughts? Like, we're not going to die or anything, but like any closing thoughts, guys? Or
I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. There's a million toys in Toys R Us that I can play with. There you go.
From bikes to trains to video games.
We can keep going.
I'm leaving that in. I'm leaving that in for sure. Thank you, listeners, and we will catch you on the next one. Thanks.